Hi, I'm your professor, Dr. Lisa English Dowdell, and we're going to talk about user testing. So, user testing is one of the most important aspects of a designer's job. With repeated testing and with many iterations on a design, you can solve a problem effectively by gaining valuable insight into what works and what doesn't. Now, user testing allows us to evaluate the functions and overall user experience of our product through actual user feedback. So user testing answers the question, can my users easily operate the application or the website to meet its purpose? You're going to explore and analyze your target audience's behavior when interacting with your product by testing your prototypes. So the learning outcome for this lecture is to explain the importance of user testing in web design, conduct a usability test using think-aloud protocols or surveys, and then document and analyze results from user testing. Now, not only are you not the user, but your stakeholders and colleagues are probably not the real users either. They're not representatives of your target audience. So you want to involve the correct users in the design process rather than having internal colleagues be participants, as they tend to be a little bit too close to the design in order to be able to provide like honest and accurate data. Now, user testing lets you get an unbiased user perspective. You can build a persona and research the feasibility of the product. Now, this helps with empathy, but conducting a user testing will also allow you to let actual users test the usability of your product. And this will give you that genuine feedback, to design your platform effectively and offer a better user experience. Now, some of the benefits of usability testing is to detect the problems in the early stages of your product development before you've put too much time and resources into it. It also helps you to find out where your users are getting stuck when navigating or using your product, and then it reveals any issue that maybe your team, hasn't considered or uncovered. So even though usability or user testing is time consuming and can be costly, but you might end up paying more for future fixes in the end. Now, as defined by the Interaction Design Foundation, usability testing tests how easy a design is for a group of representative users. It usually involves observing users as they attempt to complete the different tasks, and can be done for like different types of designs, from user interfaces to actual physical products. It's often conducted repeatedly, from early development until you actually release the product. Now, usertesting.com says that 10 years of research shows that companies who put human-centered design methods at the core of their growth strategy see a 228% higher return on investment. Okay, so I think that part that notes early development, that's key. You shouldn't wait until the design is mature. You should start doing usability testing in the initial stage itself, because, it's relatively easy, say, to alter the solution and then iterate at the early stage. Now, to go through a proper testing process, you'll need to, one, create a prototype, then come up with a test plan, recruit people. That's going to be your target audience or your target users. Find a suitable location, moderate the tasks, and then document the test results. So let's go through each of these. Okay, so the first one is to create a prototype. So the best way to test ideas with users and to basically start that conversation is to show them how that solution is going to work. And that's through a prototype. So a prototype is really an early model of the product. It's going to have limited functionality, and it's really kind of built to test a specific design concept. And it's a quick kind of interactive design of your product. Now, before you conduct usability testing, you got to plan it out. You got to think about what you're going to test. Which assumptions do you want to check, or what are you trying to measure? Think about how many people, you want to bring in for the task, and where do you want to test? Is it going to be in the lab? Is it going to be remote? Are you going to actually test in the field? So you've got to plan all of these things so that you can have an effective testing. Um, at a basic level, you should plan or you should outline exactly like what's being tested, like what particular features, or functionality or tasks that are actually being tested, and how you're going to measure this. What's going to be the success or the fail rate of the test, in specific areas. When we talk about how we want to measure, let's talk about what we're going to be measuring. So there's two types of metrics to measure the interface. There's qualitative and there's quantitative. Now, quantitative metrics includes the time taken on the task, maybe the number of clicks, the success rate, things like that. The success rate is like the best key metrics, and this gives us factual data. Now, while qualitative metrics, these include their satisfaction, the user's behavioral responses. Usability testing is more of a qualitative research and testing, but you need quantitative data, so you can form the facts and make the decision based on that. For example, if you're testing the effectiveness, say, of a sign-up process, and all you gather is some qualitative data like their satisfaction, their emotional response, and video recordings, this is going to help you as a designer, but you need data like 8 out of 10 users finished the form, or 4 out of 10, did not go past the landing pages. This is to present in your report to the stakeholders or the product holders to help them make the decision. Therefore, you're going to need both metrics for your testing, qualitative and quantitative. Now, if you're working on a project for a client with existing customers, recruitment's going to be easy. You just reach out to their customers, But for like a small personal project, you might want to try reaching out, say, to your friends, who actually fall into the target audience. A few like examples would be like if you also belong to maybe some social media groups that would be for your target audience, like your LinkedIn groups or your Facebook groups or whoever, then these are people that you could reach out for. But it's important to find unbiased participants who are not just willing to be nice to you, in their response. You need unbiased feedback, whether it's good or bad, in order to get value out of the test. Now, it's best to have a minimum of 3 to 5 testers. This could be remote or in person, and this should give you enough data for at least your first iteration. It's also a good idea to schedule the test within 30 to 45 minutes break in between them. And you might find, maybe an issue with your design or something, and this will give you time to say fix it before presenting it to the next tester. Now, testing can be intense, so also spacing it out like this gives you time to kind of give you a breather, to maybe collect your findings or make notes and then maybe relax before the next round of testing. Now, you also want to document the information about the user, like a profile, so this will be what we would have in our report. So we would maybe document like their age, their gender, maybe what their occupation is, things like that. Now, you also want to create a realistic environment around this testing. So, for example, if you're testing a mobile app, then you want to add kind of distractions, the same that they'll get like when they're, say, using the app, like maybe getting calls in between, using the app while, or maybe like if they're walking down the hallway. This is going to give you better feedback. I always reflect back on, I use a lot of mobile apps that, work within like different grocery stores, so that you're able to add different coupons to your account, look for sales items, things like that. And it's difficult sometimes using some of these apps while you're in the store, because you're trying to do it with one hand, you're trying to shop, you're trying to push a cart, all these different things. So if this is the kind of app, for example, that you would be testing for, then have them go into the grocery store and have them actually, try to use this your prototype or test the app while they're actually in that environment. Now, if you're new to testing, you should conduct a few like no pressure run throughs, with maybe your partner or a family member or something like that. Practice, asking the type of questions that you're going to ask, and you'll be able to run your test a little bit more effectively when you do this. It's also important to thank your participants for maybe taking the time to help you. Remind them that the reason you're doing this, is to, these different user feedback sessions is because you're eager to optimize your website or your app's usability, for the best user experience. Now, while conducting the test, what you want to do is you want to print out the tasks that are going to be part of the plan and hand those to the user so they'll kind of have an idea of what to expect through the test. And then the duration of the test can be any length, but just make sure not to exhaust your user. If you're doing a remote test, record it, with maybe some kind of recording screen software. If it's in person, use a video camera or maybe an audio recorder. By recording it, you'll be a little bit more relaxed because you won't have to take notes, and then you can document everything later from the recording. Just make sure that the participants know that the recordings are going to be confidential. Now, during your test, here's some example questions to ask, and this is to kind of prompt, maybe feedback, from your user. So I notice a bit of hesitation there. What stopped you? What do you think this button is going to do? What's most appealing about this product? What's the hardest part about using this product? Was there anything surprising or unexpected about this product? So on and so forth. Different questions, like I said, to be able to prompt your user so that you can get as much as you can out of it. Now, don't be aggressive with these questions. You don't want to, say, well, what did you like or dislike about the way it worked, but you want to, kind of ask it in a way that's going to, again, prompt them to be a little bit more open, with their feedback. Now, after that, then what you want to do is you want to document your test results. So this could include, having maybe spreadsheets with different notes and things like that, the audio or the screen recordings that we talked about, or the recording of the test participant, maybe from a webcam. Now, once you're done with all the testing and gathered all of your data and your artifacts and things like that, now it comes time to analyze the data and draw the different conclusions. So you want to adopt the usability attitude in this phase. Shift your focus, from the designer's goals to users' goals. What satisfies them? Be empathetic, towards your user. Now, this assessment is something, you use to negotiate the design changes and to guide your team to more of a user-centered design. So you'll want to note like your success rate, your user satisfaction, your user's frustration, by each task, and figure out like what design changes are going to be necessary. So let's take as an example of a usability testing. Let's say we're testing a mobile app for a public transportation route planner. And let's walk through the steps that we've outlined. Okay, one is we're going to be looking at three main features of the app that we want to test. That's going to be journey planning, ticket ordering, seat reservations. So the participants that we're going to have, these are going to be people that say usually travel everywhere by bus. Okay, they're our target audience, because it's the public transportation route planner. So our objective is to test if certain features and functionalities of the prototype are user friendly. So we recruit like maybe 15 participants, for our tests. Now, writing up our test plan, we should go through our prototype and say jot down some questions that kind of support asking about these three features. And then what we do is, we would say things like, okay, to support the journey planning, we'd say, are users able to plan their journey effectively and quickly? Maybe to support the feature, to test the feature of ticket ordering, we would ask questions like, can they order tickets easily? And then to support the feature of seat reservation, are they able to reserve a seat? So now we create our spreadsheet and we use 5 columns. So our first column is going to be the name of the participants, okay? And we'll list out like the different participants there. Then our columns 2 through 4, okay, these are going to be the three features that we talked about that we're testing. That's the journey planning, the ticket ordering, the seat reservation. And then for the 5th column, say if the participant is struggling with using, say, whatever the feature is, then we're going to take note of it and then we're going to write that down and the reason for the confusion. And then next, we would calculate as far as the success rate. So again, we've got 15 participants. We've got 3 tasks. That means 45 tasks in total. And so then we go through and we jot down, was the task successfully done, by the participant, okay? And then if it wasn't, then we'll make note of that it wasn't, successfully done or that it was successfully done. And then we do our calculations. So for instance, 38 out of the 45 tasks were completed successfully, which gives us an 85% success rate. So now when we're actually summarizing our usability testing, we make certain statements based on the qualitative and the quantitative information that we gathered. Now here's some examples of statements that could be included, say, in a summary for usability testing. Remote usability testing were conducted for the purpose of finding possible improvements. 10 user testing participants were recruited. So, we're stating like how many people we've tested, the majority of the participants understood how to use the product. Here we've got maybe some quantitative information. 60% enjoyed using the product and only 5 out of 10, wanted to continue using it. Here we've got some more quantitative. 82%, of the participants were able to complete the task. So we summarize like the different information that we've gathered from our tests. And then here's some more examples of how we would document the results of the usability testing for each of the features that we've tested. So, have an overall result, again, having that quantitative information. 60% enjoyed the specific experience, where 40%, complained about it, maybe even have some direct quotes, so that your stakeholders understand like what the tester was actually experiencing, and include both positive and negative information, within the documentation. So by following all of these, you should have a good usability testing, for either if you're testing a website or a mobile app. And then I just added this. I thought this was kind of cute to show that we don't want to be critical. When we're doing that testing, like I say, you want to coax your tester, into giving you feedback and being responsive and things like that. You don't want to be, too aggressive like this tester is. No, that's not how you're supposed to use it. But you want to, that's going to help you to get that real true feedback, and if they're, having some frustration, don't ridicule them, or, this is what you want. You want good or bad testing. And then again, remember, you've got that iterative process. So, the things that you find that they're having difficulty to, go in, make the changes based on, maybe their feedback or what you've observed, and then retest and retest until you've gotten to a version that you feel comfortable with proceeding with. And again, do this testing early. Don't wait until after you've actually added, created the product, and put a lot of energy into it, because we become a little bit more reluctant. The more we put into a product, the more we put into that end product, in doing it, we'll become a little bit more reluctant to make changes. Okay. Other than that, thank you, and happy testing.